Hello, and welcome back. Today we're going to measure the roof so we can create an estimate from scratch for an asphalt roof replacement. So whether you just saw a roof inspection video and you have some of the red flags, or you've been told you have hail damage, or you have a 3-tab roof and you know you're past due, maybe you're just plain curious on how to quickly find out how much does a new roof cost. This segment is for you. So you might have gotten online, searched for what does a new roof cost near me, or something like that. You immediately got directed to websites offering you free estimates, ads, and or those Aggies listings or house advisory sites, all of which are designed to mislead you to get you to click, and none of them really answered your questions, right? Well, before you click anything and get a barrage of phone calls that never end, watch Home Again's How to Find the Right Roofing Contractor. But for today, let's start by measuring the roof. And from there, we can build the estimate. Now, back in the day, roofers used to measure with tape measures on the roof or on the ground. I knew one guy, he would just count the tabs horizontally and vertically and then do the math. And it worked okay. Today, the pros have software to get the measurements and material lists very accurately. However, probably not worth your money if you're only measuring up your own home, and just about anybody can access Google Earth, right? So let's start there. All right, so here's a depiction of what you'll see on your screen. Type in Google Earth, and Google Earth comes up. Type in your address. If you can't distinguish which house is yours, go down to 2D from the street. You'll be able to see which home is yours, and then you can zoom back out by going back to 3D after you were in 2D. You can even walk around if you wanted to. So you're going to have all these little icons on the side. I'm not sure what a lot of them do, but we're looking for this guy down here. It looks like a comb, but it's really meant to be a ruler, okay? So hit your comb. I usually find that it starts in meters. You want to hit the little arrow there, go drop down, because we're looking for feet. These little buttons will allow you to zoom in and out. If you're on an iPad or an iPhone, it's going to zero it in right over top of it, and it's going to give you a little circle in the middle of your screen. And what you're going to want to do is use your fingers to drag the home underneath that center point in the center of your screen. If you're dealing with a laptop, it's going to give you an X, and X marks the spot. Let's say we're 29 feet. Okay, so we're going to write that number down. 29. Then, it's going to be our favorite little button to use there. It's going to refresh it. So we're already on this spot. Refresh it, or start over if you want. Then we're going to get this measurement. So now we know we're 49. And that's going to give us this whole area along here. See, we've got a porch sticking out, right? So we're going to want to measure that. That's going to be, let's say we're 22 and 8. So we'll take those numbers, 22 times 8. And now we have some rough numbers. Now we have numbers by which we could go by to really nail down. What we're looking for is something that roofers use called a square. It means 10 feet by 10 feet. It's how they communicate. It's how they order their materials. It's also going to be the basis for our estimate. So I'll show you how to get the squares in just 1 second. Okay. So we take our measurements. We got 29 by 49, and that's going to give us 1392. And 22 by 8, that's going to give us 176. Then we're going to add those numbers up for a total of 1568. Is this our measurement? Not just quite yet. All right, so right now our squares would be this number, but we've got 1568. So we're going to round it up. So that takes us to being 16 square, but we measured it flat. And we know that if we take this measurement, say it's our 29, and we bent that up, well, we know that we're not 29. We know we're a whole lot more. And how we calculate that is by finding out what our pitch is. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to figure out our pitch. Today we're going to assume that we're doing a 612. What does that mean? It means if we took a 12-inch ruler, made it level, put it on the roof, we'd be 6 inches down from our level to here. Very basic, very simple. I'm going to actually give you guys an app to use that's very easy, or you could just stick with the 612 just to keep the rough numbers, okay? One of my favorite things is Roof Pitch Factor. Download the app, then it becomes very easy. You want to stand square to your house, open the app, and as you tilt your phone, you're going to see a line, and you match that line right to your roof edge. You can even just take your phone right to that roof edge, but don't be on an angle. You need to be very square to your home. Stand in the middle and slowly turn it. Go past a little bit and narrow it in. And it's going to tell you exactly anything from a 312 down to a 1212. And that's the number we're going to hold on to do the rest of our measurements. So we were talking about using a 612. And so if we look at our chart, a 312 would be almost flat. Anything less than a 312, well, gosh, it's not even considered able to put a shingle roof on it, not without special products. All the way down to a 1212. Today, we're going to do our measurements with a 612 and keep it nice and simple. If you want to just use a 612, know that as soon as you get past the 712, that it's considered unwalkable, and that's going to increase the price. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so let's take our numbers here. We've got a 16 square flat roof out of 612. So we're going to take that 612, which is going to give us a multiplier of 1.12. Okay, so now we have our 16 square. We're almost there. We know our pitch factor of being a 612 is 1.12. That's going to give us a number of 1792. Now in squares, there are no decimal points. So we'd be looking for this number. So we take that up to 18. So we're at 18 square and we are almost there. One more thing to consider, and that's the waste. When shingles reach edges, you can cut the edges off. A lot of it gets discarded. Sometimes people like to reuse it, but if properly done, you need to anticipate the waste and not try to incorporate it into your roof because it's not always in the best spot to have seams. What we want to do is have a proper stagger and have any place where it meets hips and valleys to be nice sized pieces. Less seams, less water infiltration. Okay, so our first waste factor would be just like the example that we had before. Long slopes, not a lot of interruption going along it, creates about 10% waste. Okay, so in our first example, we were looking at a 10% waste. We don't have a lot of places where it bumps in. We also did not have any valleys, right, where different angles of the roof meet and go in different directions. Once we start having that, we start getting up into a little bit more waste. Okay, if we have that and some spots where our roof meets the other wall, now we have another area with two cuts on either side of it, or we start getting dormers windows up above, right? Lots of them. We could actually start getting up into 1.2. If you were up at if you're at 25% waste, you're on a crazy roof and you're expecting something different. But for us right now, we're sticking with the 110. So we take our 18 square, multiply that by our 1.1, and what do we get? 19.71. And what do we know about squares? Squares do not have decimals. This is our magic number. We're there. 20 square. Knowing your square count can be pretty important. I always say trust but verify. If you're going to meet with a contractor who's going to be measuring your roof, you want to get pretty close. Are you going to be the same as him? Chances are not. He's a pro. He's been doing it a long time. But if he's on the up and up, you've got a good chance of being right there in that ballpark. And it's also nice to not have any surprises along the way, right? Okay, so now we've arrived at our first destination. We have our square count. 20 square is actually the average roof size of a medium-sized home in many areas. And with this number, we can now move forward with building our estimate because we have our base. If you were not able to follow along, like and leave a comment, and I'll be happy to clarify. Subscribe and I may even go over it with you. Being a part of this online community affords me relationships with fine roofers from every area of the country. Reach out to us on our website in the description below, and we can connect you with experts in your area. In our next video, we will look at the factors that will affect our 20 square estimate, and I'll even throw in a heavy 10-12 pitch just so you can see the difference that pitch can make. So watch the second video titled Do It Yourself Roof Estimate by Home Again. And I'm Jason, and if you live anywhere in the eastern and lower half of PA, I'll even come out and see how close your estimate was to ours. See you soon.